I'm the Reverend John Quirrapol, the minister at the Chapel by the Sea at Bondi Beach. And what we're developing at the chapel out here is a very strong social justice and also an arts and cultural perspective to go along with our work. We do a lot of work with people that are on the edge, marginalised, a lot of welfare work. And one of our great projects that we've just finished, and we're really excited about finishing it, is the mural, and it's been put together by two wonderful artists. And it follows up, I had a dream is the wrong way to put it, but that, in a sense that's where it came from. There was a mural at Newtown, which a number of you have seen, Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, as you go down King Street there. And I looked at that and I thought, wouldn't it be great to have an Australian version of that? And I thought of those wonderful lines of Paul Kelly and Kev Carmody, from little things, big things grow. These two artists paint this mural. Etienne Cohen, who comes to us from the sacred territory of the UK, but we also have an Aboriginal artist, of course, Paul Davis. And Paul came up from the south coast to join us, and Paul's a uni man. And so Etienne joined us with Paul, and Dominic Wykenak has been a great support. Dominic's a councillor, a Greens councillor here in the Waverley Council. And last of all, and not least of course, we've had Michelle Marnie, who's one of the local identities in the Bondi area, and her mother Gloria, the Kamilaroi people, to come and share about what this mural means. Because this mural in the centre of Bondi, it's the busiest spot in Australia, I think, when it's a bumper summer's day. There will be literally thousands and thousands of people from within Australia and from overseas are going to see this mural, and we are really excited about it for all people in this land as we try to acknowledge what it means to be a community which is built on a sacred tradition which runs back to, well, 100,000 years. And I'd like to pass you over now to one of our artists, and welcome Etienne.
This is a social justice mural. The images painted here are a vital component of the mural's message. These men and women were activists working at a grassroots level with basic human rights issues facing blackfellas every day. These people, and so many more like them, struggled individually and inspired others to put their hands up for social justice. Vincent Lingiari's story is told in the song From Little Things Big Things Grow, the title of our mural, by Kevin Carmody and Paul Kelly. It describes Vincent walking off Wave Hill Cattle Station because its Indigenous workers were given no wages and only rations. This protest started a revolution that ended in Gough Whitlam pouring the sand of the Gurindji land back into Vincent's hand. Previously, in 1965, Charlie Perkins had taken activism to a grassroots level with the Freedom Rides. He took a bus full of students to report on and confront segregation in country New South Wales at places, clubs, cinemas, and even swimming pools where Indigenous children were not allowed to play. Faith Bandler tirelessly rallied all Australian people to vote yes in the 1967 referendum on the Aboriginal right to vote. She realised the absolute necessity for Indigenous people to have a say in the running of their country. Mum Shell, a local treasure, visited jails, the sick and the needy, and set up the Breakfast Club for mothers and children in Redfern, the beginning of the Aboriginal Medical Service today. Eddie Mabo, a great man whose personal activism changed the Australian people's perception of the world land through the Mabo decision of 1992. It is that date that made me realise that so much has been achieved in such a short space of time, and that this is a celebration. And it goes on today with the recognition of Indigenous people in the Constitution of Australia. Paul Davis and I have been on a journey too. Our collaboration has shown that with respect, we can share, yarn and create together. We are reconciled to a bright future for all Australians.
I'd like to introduce Edward Paul Davis, my collaborator, and he's going to talk a little bit about why the mural is important to him and his background as far as the mural is concerned.
Hello, my name is Edward Paul Davis, and the significance of the Bondi mural stretches way back in my family history. I'm from the south coast of New South Wales, and from a tribal area or a traditional area known as Yumbara, which is also known under the totem name as the Black Duck Yumbara, right? And my father was born in Crown Street Hospital at Paddington. And the way we got there is because the rocks that hold the Sydney Harbour Bridge up come from my hometown. My grandmother went up there on that same boat that towed them rocks up there to build a Sydney Harbour Bridge. Where I'm sitting right now is a place called Sandon Point, and the people from the far south coast that range from the Yuin tribe all the way to the Campbelltown area, all the way to Gadigal land. And along the coast, all my people are fishermen, and we also took part in the whaling industry that is now defunct along the east coast of Australia. We can sit here and watch the whales go past every day, all the way past Bondi. The significance of that is I'm also connected with the Laparoos people, and I'm also connected with the far south coast of New South Wales. Now, the reason why I got involved with the mural was through the special invitation by people from the Bondi local community of Chapel by the Sea. Now, I was invited along as an Indigenous artist, that I am a registered artist as an Indigenous person, an Aboriginal person of this country, Australia, to do this mural. And when I went along, I thought, well, the whole mural has a total significance of the whole of Australia's plight for Aboriginal people. It's got so much to say in relation to not only reconciliation issues, sorry issues, but moving forward. And if we don't move forward on a level of understanding that Australia has a black history, then we don't move anywhere. And I'd like you now to meet Dominic Canuck, who is from another end of the country, who is a local person in a representative seat as a spokesperson for Indigenous people of this country. So this is Dominic Canuck. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Dominic Canuck, a Bondi, Bondi Ward, Waverley Local Government elected New South Wales Councillor. As Edward Paul Davis just said, I'm from the other end of the country, which is the Torres Strait on my father's side, and my hometown of Mackay in Queensland, where my mother's side of the family were blackbirded, which meant being taken into slavery from the South Pacific island of Epi in Vanuatu and forcibly made to work the sugarcane fields of Mackay. Before his passing, I used to see Kumajai Perkins around here in Bondi as a local, and I'd stop and yarn with him when he and his daughter Rachel used to live around here when they were away from their Red Central Desert country. I have a cultural connection to the Chapel by the Sea Aboriginal Rights mural through the Torres Strait heritage of Uncle Eddie Corky Mabo and the South Sea heritage of Auntie Faith Bandler. And I like how the mural touches the street with the blue of the Pacific Ocean. In local government, you look after local history, and the local history files in Waverley Library record an Aboriginal burial with stone axes being found in the sands of Bondi Beach in about the 1850s, These remains were reburied recently by the La Perouse local Aboriginal Land Council. I thank the Chapel by the Sea for acknowledging the Darug Eora people every Sunday in their service. After the Bondi Beach Sand, the mural features the Bondi Pavilion, which still has buried in the sand underneath it the Bondi points, which are a special sharp stone blade designed and fashioned by traditional blackfellas from the volcanic hard stone of Bondi. The Bondi Pub has been the site of modern music concerts as part of the Aboriginal political movement. There have been concerts against black deaths in police and prison custody, and Waverley Council has hosted the Survival Day concert on the 26th of January. Local councillors help organise events, and this year some events in the chapel were made extra special with the help of Michelle Marnie, who introduced the Gaduga kids to the Chapel by the Sea, so that on Harmony Day 2013, which is the International United Nations Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, and also Close the Gap Day, which is dedicated to fixing the poor standards of Aboriginal health, these young kids from Gaduga placed their handprints along the waterline of the mural. Next you'll hear from a local Indigenous auntie, Michelle's mother, Gloria Frazier, who is also related to my kids through their grandmother's line.
There was a lot of people here from Kamilaroi people, but in the days when I was growing up, no one ever spoke out about being Aboriginal, but people knew by your colouring and your different ones in your family and everything. And it was just, you sort of mixed with both worlds, because there was a lot of Greek, Italians, Maltese, lots of people sort of all got together in those days, so you didn't feel out of place really, because some of the people were dark skinned too, right? And then as you grow older, your culture becomes stronger and stronger. It just, I don't know, it's like a spiritual thing that it pulls you back. You have to find your roots. You have to know where you came from. And then as you do that and you get back with your people and you find more and more about the culture that you lost and you get it back, you start feeling really happy inside yourself. You say, I'm home. Even if you were born here, which I was, I know now who I am. And I'm proud of what I am. One night I said, something strange is happening to me. I said, it's like this lady, I'm seeing her in my dreams and she's calling me all the time, this black lady. I don't know who she is, but she's calling me. And I said, it's like I'm being haunted and I can't get away from it. And I said, I've got to find out who this woman is. Why would a black person come into my dreams over and over and over, right? And then I said to my husband one day, that's it. I've got to find where I came from. Who was my grandparents, my great-grandparents? They're all dead, but I have to know their life. I have to know who they were. I have to acknowledge that they came here, they lived, and I'm here because of them. And then I told you that I started to delve into everything. So I did. I went back and I found photos of my mother's sister who went missing in 1936. They could never find her. I found her. And before my auntie died, I actually found my mother's sister's children. They're dead now, but they were old men. But I brought them to my table at my house, and I got my auntie, who's 86, my other auntie, and I said, somebody's coming here today to see you, Mum. And she said, who? And I wouldn't tell. And when he came, one look at him, she knew, even though she hadn't seen him since he was little. One look, and then I produced the photo of a sister that he'd sent me. And they were sitting there and they were crying. I said, Mum, your sister's buried in Inverell. She died not long after your mother. That's why you could never find her. So that was my journey home. It's been really hard, because I didn't know anything at all. I had to start going and getting certificates, looking in the library, sore neck, weekend he got sick of it, weekend after weekend. Not knowing anything, I joined the Genealogical Society, I did everything, had to do it. And then when I put the headstone and everything over my grandmother, and all the verses that had been done millions of times over, they weren't my words. And all of a sudden, this just came out of me from nowhere. You were lost to me by the mist of time, but our souls are entwined forever. I told you I took them up there as a surprise, and when they saw it, my auntie died not long after that, she just cried. I said I was never going to leave her here without, this is the black lady in my dreams. I've never dreamt about it since. And when my grandchildren were born, Michelle's sister, her two daughters, I said, please, will you do a favour for my great-grandmother and my grandmother? Will you name them after them so they can carry their names on? And she did. And that was one of the happiest days of my life.
So we're really excited. We want to see you, and we're a friendly lot down here, and we're heavily into reconciliation. It's the only way we can move forward, is to be reconciled to each other, to learn from each other's stories. And so we'd love to have you here and hear some of your story as well. Thank you.